Hello one and all, welcome to Cymatic or the Astroflower, because we are going to be changing things as we go forward, and this is the start of the change, so welcome to it. Today's video, I know I haven't been here for some time, so I do apologise for that. It's been really sort of trying to sort things out in my life in multitudes of ways, like everybody, and it's one of the reasons why I'm doing the video today. It's all about that sort of extreme energies that have been happening on the earth and also in the sun, but also in our lives as individuals. And we're going to be going into how this is happening and how this could be maybe affecting you as an individual and how it can be helping you as well as an individual. And if you can help you as an individual, collectively, that's where we can really get things rocking and rolling. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Don't believe, just know. Cymatic TV, turning vibration into reality.
So welcome on my walk as I go around the lake, this beautiful place. Have you been noticing that life seems to be made up of extremes at the moment? Have you noticed it in your life? What about your emotions? Have you had days when things are really working well, and then other days that it's just not working at all, and other days that it's just flat? Is that to do with you? Is that your own personal fault, your own personal way of doing energies and stuff like that? Or is it different? Is it more of a case of what is going on in the environment that is around you? Firstly, let's look at the bigger picture. I mean, the massive picture, okay? The first picture is what is going on in the Earth, the solar system, within accordance to the galaxy that we choose, that we find ourselves, yeah? And this has everything to do with pole shift. Once you start realizing this is when you can adapt it in your life in order to get the best out of this pole shift situation, because it's not going anywhere. Nature is on an agenda, and that agenda doesn't really matter whether you think it's a good agenda or not. You know, I'm not going to impose myself upon you in a way. You've got to make your own decisions and you've got to make your own life. You know, that's what the joy and the amazing thing about life is all about. Only you can be living it. And this is where the Earth and the pole shift and the solar system is also on this agenda. As it goes from the lower part of the galaxy and gradually goes into the upper part of the galaxy, we're going through what is called the galactic plane. Now, the galactic plane has a positive and negative, two extremes, like the yin and the yang. And what's happening is we're going from, let's say, negative to positive. Let's be optimistic about it, shall we? This is going to change all the electrical circuits on Earth. And we have seen this in a multitude of things. And I started seeing it particularly a long time ago. But I've seen it particularly within my healing sessions that I do every week with people. And some people I've been, who've been coming to see me for sort of 15, 20 years now. And I've seen their development and I know what's going on. And they find it difficult to adapt to this sort of changing energy, as it were. But once you can see what's happening around you, that's when you can really get the best out of life, because you can notice it. It's not a complicated situation. So the first thing first, let's just have a look at what really struck me recently. And that's all to do with a sequence of earthquakes, very minor, actually, earthquakes, not the sort of things that brought loads and loads of buildings down and what have you. But the most important thing of this, and this is where we get into the agnostic sort of side of things, into the emerald tablet sort of way of looking at things, it is the frequency or the rhythm that is in these vibrations, where we start seeing the separation between the yin and the yang and becoming incredibly defined.
Right, before we start looking at the earthquakes, let's just familiarize ourselves with the world chakra map, which I created back in 2000. That's nearly 25 years ago, probably even just before that. So let's just go through it very simply. South America, you've got the root chakra, where it crosses between the red and the blue line. And then you have the sacrum, which is in Mount Shasta, which is in North California, where you have a crossing between the red and green line. Then after that, you have the solar plexus, which is in Australia, where you have a crossing between the blue line and the green line. And then you have the heart chakra, which is found up in St. Michael's Mount in the UK, which is a crossing between the light blue line and the solid blue line as well, the light turquoise line. And then you have the throat and third eye chakra, which is in Mount Fuji. And then you have the crown chakra, which is in Mount Kailash in the Himalayas, which you can see just below point 21 and 26. Where you have the crossing of the red and blue line, exactly the same thing as what you do on the root chakra in South America. It is the same crossing points of those two lines. It's those two chakras there are the only two that cross on exactly the same lines, as the other chakras do share their lines differently across the map. The lines that go across the earth there, the dotted lines are tied to the southern hemisphere, and the solid lines are tied to the northern hemisphere. There's 3 lines in the northern hemisphere and 3 lines in the southern hemisphere. That's because we are in the 3rd dimension in regards to the solar system. We are the 3rd planet from the sun, and therefore to have the yin and yang factor, we have 6 lines in total, 3 in the north, 3 in the south. There we go. That's us familiarizing ourselves with the world chakra map, just where things are geographically. So here is the earthquakes of that day in May the 20th of this year. Now, as you can well see, there's earthquakes all over the place in the usual hotspots, as it were. There is some slightly unusual ones that's come across in Europe, but that's not unheard of. It's not out of the question. And there's a few that's down by Antarctica in the southern hemisphere. The main thing that we're going to be looking at in particular is the rhythms of those earthquakes. And this is where it starts to come into play when we start adding on the world chakra map. As you can well see here, we have a lot of earthquakes around the solar plexus, around the third eye and the throat chakra. There's a few knocking around the crown chakra and the root chakra, and also the sacrum. There is one, as I said, coming up in Europe, which is near towards the heart chakra. But once we start breaking these down into the chakra zones, we can start seeing that there's actually a rhythm going on with these earthquakes. And these rhythms are to do with the rhythms of our own chakra system as well. Because what is happening on the earth will ultimately affect your energies. And this is a point of these videos that I'm doing this week, in order for you to take into account what is going on around you. So then therefore you can actually see a lot clearer what is going on inside you and how you are engaging in the world. Once you realize that, that's when you can change your interaction with the universal energies and actually start creating a lot more for yourself. And there was 2 particular combinations that I would like to look at in particular. One combination is to do with the crown and the root chakra, and the other one is to do with the sacrum and the third eye and throat chakra. The crown and the root chakra are actually the same chakra in the human system. It is like your North Pole and your South Pole of the earth. It is connected with your vertical energy that goes between the two. They are not 2 different chakras. One is the front end and one is the back end. It depends on how you look at life. One can be either or the other. Then we get to the third eye and the throat chakra. Now, the third eye and the throat chakra are the same chakra as well. If you imagine, if you take a tube and you bend that tube into a U, that shape then becomes the line of the energy that goes through your forehead and comes back out through your throat, and it goes back and forth, back and forth. And at the end of that tube, you obviously got two flowers, which is your third eye and your throat chakra. It is actually the same chakra because we only have 5 chakras. I know if you go on Wikipedia, you will learn that we have 7 chakras and etc. But in reality, the way energy works, we only have 5 chakras. Now, the third eye and throat chakra is just below the crown chakra. And your sacrum, or your sacred chakra, which is just above your root chakra. So these combinations are playing into your northern pole, your south pole, in your root and your crown chakra, and then in your third eye and your throat chakra, combined with your sacred chakra. And that is the second step. And then obviously the heart and the solar plexus, they work in sort of tandem. They're not actually connected per se, but all of these chakras work in tandem with one another. A little bit like when you're playing a piano and you're trying to play a C chord. So you play the note C, E, and G. You have a space between the two, but then together they make the C major chord. And this is the way in which we can play our energy. It's the same thing as with music. So let's get into the details of the rhythm of what was going on. And I think this is where you're going to start to understand how this oscillating energy in the earth can then affect you, because it's not just on the same day. And we must understand a little bit about rhythms. So there is a multitude of rhythms in life, and we all respect the underlying rhythm of the universe. So let's look at heartbeats, for example. A mouse has a heartbeat that goes roughly between 500 and 700 beats per minute. The human heartbeat goes roughly between 60 and 100 beats per minute. And then a tortoise, great tortoise, goes at roughly 25 beats per minute. There is a question that should be asked about whether heartbeat signifies the length of time that we live upon this planet. A mouse lives for a very short period of time because it has a high heartbeat. A human, well, we all know how long we live. And then a great tortoise lives for a very long time, but it only has 25 beats per minute. Is that something to be said? It's just to sort of say the perception of time and how it affects our energies is going to be different according to species of animal, also plant life, and also planet life. So therefore, when the rhythm of the earth is coming through and it takes a day to do a heartbeat, maybe, by that time we would have done literally hundreds of thousands of heartbeats or tens of thousands of heartbeats during that same time. And this effect will affect us for a long time after that one day upon the earth. It will continually affect us for some time after that. And this is where we get into how the energy, the overall energy around the earth or coming through the earth into our system actually affects us and our emotions. So let's get back to the earthquakes in particular that we saw with a rhythm. We're going to be treating the crown and root chakra because they're actually, as I said, they're very tied. And what you see before you here on the right hand side is a list of the earthquakes during that same period across the globe. And on the left hand side, on the 2 columns on the left hand side, you see the earthquakes which are in South America and also in and around the crown chakra. So what we're dealing with here is 8 earthquakes here. Let's just go through the rhythm of it all. So this is the rhythm. It goes crown, root, crown, root, root, crown, crown, root. It's almost rhythmical. It's almost musical. Crown, root, crown, root, root, crown, crown, root. Absolutely beautiful. Now, this is the oscillation between, if you imagine on yourself, going between your vertical energies, going between your lofty ideas and your spiritual aspect, which is in your crown chakra, and your sort of fundamental ideas, which is down in your root chakra. But these weren't the only two chakras that were swinging off one another. And let's look at the next set. The next set is to do with the sacrum and the third eye and the throat chakra. And as I mentioned earlier on, they work in tandem as well. They're not connected to one another, the sacrum and the third eye and the throat chakra, but they work in tandem as well. And we get a very similar sort of thing going on with the rhythms between the two. So let's see the rhythm of these two here. We have third eye throat chakra, followed by the sacrum, followed by the third eye throat chakra, followed by the sacrum, followed by the third eye throat chakra, followed by the sacrum, followed by the sacrum, finishing by the third eye throat chakra. So it does oscillate between the two. It starts off with the third eye and throat chakra and finishes on the third eye and throat chakra. So this could be down to what we manifest and what we create within our mind's eye, within our throat chakra. That's all to do with our manifestation powers, and how this oscillation between the root and the crown chakra also comes into play, because it starts off there and will finish there. But it goes down to our sacrum as well. And our sacrum chakra is all about the fundamental desires. It's not about our heart's desires, it's about our fundamental desires. And I've explained this before. It's about a fundamental desire is I am hungry. A heart's desire is, okay, I would like to eat some tomato and mozzarella salad with a bit of basil. That'd be really nice. So there is a big difference between the two. And it's basically how we manifest our fundamental desires. We used earlier on the analogy between the mouse, the human, and the tortoise. But let's just go back to a story we all know, which is the hare, the human, and the tortoise. Now, the hare, as a rabbit, or a form of rabbit, has an average beat between 140 and 180 beats per minute. That's obviously almost double of what it is in the human race. And the lesson to be learnt with the hare and the tortoise is they actually arrive at the destination at the same time. They just do it in different ways. So their heartbeats are completely different, but they arrive basically at the same conclusion. At the end, the hare managed to see a lot of life because it's running around all over the place. But so does the tortoise, in a different way. But they all get there at the same time, like us as humans. So as the earth is oscillating between the root and the crown chakra, but also between its third eye and throat chakra with the sacrum chakra, that has taken a whole day to do that one beat. And we are doing thousands of beats within that one day. This will then set our rhythm off, cascading throughout the day, going from in your head down to dealing with everyday life, up to your head again, into your heart, into your sort of manifestation mode or your intuition mode, down to what is really going on with your life. They've got to take the dog out, do the washing up and what have you. And going between the two is going to set us off in a position where we feel sometimes like the hare, but life is running a little bit like the tortoise. And we have to take that into account. And that's why things like meditation is really important. Spiritual practices are very important. Sport is very important within one's life. Art is very important with one's life. Work is very important with one's life. All these aspects have different types of rhythms within them, and we need to play with them on a daily basis. And this is where we can develop routines within us in order to oscillate between these rhythms and using these rhythms in a particular way, so we are much more in accordance with ourselves and the outside world, and we can get the best results. This rhythm goes even further and even longer. We'll be seeing that in the next video, where we're going to be going into how the pole shift energy is affecting the Earth in accordance to the northern polar vortex and the southern polar vortex, but also within all the planets across the solar system. And that's when we can start putting things really into perspective in regards to what is going on with us on our daily life, but also within our weekly, monthly, yearly life rhythms as well. So I will be there. I hope you will be joining us for the second video. If you haven't subscribed, why haven't you subscribed? That's quite amazing. You should do. And make sure you click that bell for all notifications. And I will see you in the next video, or I'll see you for the tarot reading here on the Astroflower over the weekend. And you can start applying these sort of rhythms within the tarot readings. It's going to help you so much more in enjoying life in every aspect, the fast and the slow about life. I will see you soon. Don't forget, life should be fun, so please do enjoy.